My husband's family has been blocked for over 9 years, but they shocked me by demanding $100,000 for their niece's dorm fees, and now I'm dealing with calls from strangers trying to drag us back into their drama. Posted by u/key_conclusion 5511. I called my father this morning to see how they were all doing. Before he said good morning, he asked what the heck is a dorm shower and why are my in-laws asking for money and gifts. Background: my husband, children, adult teens now, and I went no contact with my husband's entire immediate family and most extended relatives since 2016. That's over 9 years of not talking to, contacting, or having any type of relationship or interactions. We gave them over 20 years of chances, boundaries, and consequences. That is to say, it wasn't a rash decision that was made selfishly or thoughtlessly. Through the years, they sent us, in the actual USPS mail because they're blocked everywhere else, requests for gifts. You see, they like to create registries, like you would for a bridal or baby shower, and fill them with obscenely priced items for simple things like birthdays, Christmas, graduation, anniversaries, and every little I farted and therefore deserve an expensive gift event. On to last week into today. I called my husband's aunt to catch up. She's the only one we're still in contact with, and she gave me a heads up that my in-laws were trying to get her to pay, they used the term donate, over $100,000, not a typo, for the golden granddaughter's dorm fees because we're family and we need to stick together and do our part. The lady, who is living a modest life and on Social Security, said absolutely not. They then sent her an invitation via text to the dorm shower, and husband's aunt said it was beyond ridiculous, not to mention the request for straight-up cash when she graduated. Meanwhile, I'm getting texts and calls from old acquaintances and childhood friends. We all grew up in the same town and in-laws still live there, but we've moved about 4 hours away, saying that my in-laws are harassing them and trying to get a hold of our information because we changed our cell numbers and blocked them everywhere we digitally could. Last week, in the mail, I received an actual printed invite along with registry information. Not one place, but 3 separate stores, and because we were curious, my whole family found it comical and took a peek. The cheapest thing on there was a pack of washcloths in the $60 range, followed by a power strip at $120, and the prices went up from there, including items in the $2,000 range. They even had commercial-type appliances, which you cannot even take or use in a dorm room. So, why are they even on there? Then the phone calls started rolling in, which were sent to voicemail from phone numbers we aren't familiar with. My mother-in-law ended up leaving a message. Husband's name: this is your mom. Niece's name is going away for college, and we need you to contribute $100,000 for her dorm. We also sent you, apparently the rest of us no longer exist, an invitation to her dorm shower and a picture from her graduation, which had requests for straight-up money without even hosting a party. Don't disappoint us because you owe it to your niece and sister. First of all, no to the no. Second, niece's parents make more than $500,000 a year. They both work for the state, love to brag, and their salaries are posted, found that out from aunt. So, shouldn't they easily be able to afford their child's dorm necessities? Third, my husband and I have our own 2 children in university, one going into sophomore year and one going into junior year, and we never made any grand announcements, much less requests for money. They also chose to stay local in order to save money. Fourth, what are you trying to get money and gifts out of my parents and other elderly relatives? Aren't there laws against swindling senior citizens? My husband dropped everything into the shredder, and I erased the voicemail with full intent of remaining and maintaining no contact. In the last 2 hours, I've gotten 6 calls from numbers I don't know but area codes that are from their area with nobody leaving any messages. What? Just when you think you're out, they try and pull you back into their nonsense. So tired, and the nerve to do that. They didn't even bother asking about their biological grandchildren that they claim to love with all their hearts. Edit: I'm so sorry that I didn't explain it correctly. To be clear, it's 2 separate things. Request 1, $100,000 for dorm fees and boarding, so essentially rent and food. Request 2, dorm shower registering for gifts at specific stores that people are expected to buy for you off of a list produced and chosen by the graduate. Edit 2, how did mother-in-law get the number? We don't know. We did have a friend say that they gave out our address, which they had anyway. We have friends in my family that still live there, our hometown that we both, me and husband, grew up in. Many people go to the same church weekly, and many of the in-laws attend. That's the most probable place. We still give our new numbers to our friends and my family. Mother-in-law managed to get our new number and nobody has confessed to giving it to her. I'm also getting a lot of calls from random numbers I don't know, and they're not leaving voicemails. That coincides with mother-in-law calling. Mother-in-law, as of right now, has left a single message. Reverse directory on the other numbers doesn't give me information. Somehow, at the very least, mother-in-law has gotten our number. We don't know if the other calls are related to mother-in-law because they don't leave voicemails, but considering the uptick in calls and the message from mother-in-law, we think it's related to each other. Thank you to all who read this novel-length post, the advice, laughs, and the recommendations for Google Voice. It's been already implemented. No further voicemails at this time. I will update if anything happens. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, wow. The sheer audacity. You unfortunately probably need to change your phone numbers again. I'm sorry. OP, I just keep blocking everything. We've changed our numbers at least twice, me 3 times and husband twice already, and they badger someone until they give it up. It feels like we need to go into witness protection, and even then, I don't think we'd be safe. Thank you for reading and taking the time to respond. Commenter 2, maybe it's time to talk to a lawyer to see what your options are legally speaking, restraining order or a cease and desist letter, etc. OP, my husband doesn't want to do that because A, he's cheap, B, you can't do that to family, but all the crap they've done is okay? I'm exhausted by all of it. Commenter 2, honestly, I'd be pretty upset if my husband made those excuses. OP, I've known my husband since we were children. He was very much brainwashed by them, and I was too young and naive to understand the lifetime implications of getting married to someone like that. What I tell my children and all their friends is to pay attention to what they do, what they don't do, and what they allow you to be exposed to. And you're right. I have spent a good portion of my marriage upset at what others were bringing to my doorstep. Commenter 3, was your husband the favorite, and how were her kids treated in the family? OP, my husband is not one of the favorites. My kids were treated like garbage. When they were little, we would host simple birthday parties at home, homemade delicious food, a variety of pastries, and of course, cake. We never registered for gifts, and we accepted whatever they brought over with grace. Among the gifts were used and stained clothes and part of a set, so it would have a tag that said 3-piece set, and we would only be given the pants instead of a complete outfit, not to mention the filthy, clearly used toys and water-stained books. They would come in through the front, and I would put everything into a garbage bag and place it in the garage because that's how bad it was. They would turn around a few months later and invite us to their birthday party complete with registry. We're talking library-bound entire Dr. Seuss sets and outdoor wood playgrounds. They saw nothing wrong with what they were doing and no shame at all. Commenter 4, what is your husband's take on this situation? OP, as of now, he wants to maintain no contact. Prior to the no contact, he was a diplomatic fence-sitter, and it infuriated me because his silence was the equivalent of acceptance. I credit our children for somewhat dragging him out of the fog, but it's been a 2 steps forward, 1 step back deal. There are cultural expectations and dysfunction that come into play. Brainwashing would be the best way to describe it, and doing what they wanted was his easiest choice. These people are not normal or controllable, and they are a very large family. Mother-in-law has 6 siblings, father-in-law has 5, each sibling had a minimum of 3 children, and one had 10, with 2 deaths in their middle age. Those children have gotten married and have children. When you oppose one, you become their enemy. So picture a non-stop barrage of Bible thumping and telling you that you're all going to hell and cursing our family and children. Conversations don't work. We gave them over 20 years of chances. I refuse to fight, and I refuse to submit. Therefore, we ignore. It's been over 9 years. I trust but verify everything and haven't seen anything of concern. I simply hate the noise they create in my life that I don't want and isn't necessary. My husband doesn't like talking about them and said, what are they doing? Why are they going to my parents? After we had our fun with the registry information, he popped everything into the shredder. It's not easy, and I understand that, so I give him the grace to allow him to change. We've been married over 30 years. I think I answered your question. Commenter 5, and how is letting you be subjected to harassment somehow not him imploding your marriage? Because you sound like you're at your wit's end with these people, and he refuses to take steps. A cease and desist letter might work, no need to even go to court. But your husband prefers to bury his head in the sand and let you be harassed. OP, you're not wrong, but there's more to the story that doesn't make anything easy. I'm not naive, and there's a plan in place if things go south. He's trying, and I'm giving him grace to change and learn, but I'm not stupid, and my patience isn't infinite. I'll provide some context and an example of her in-law's entitlement. OP, my in-laws didn't approve of our marriage. They didn't want us to succeed. They thought that without them and their help and influence, we would be nothing. We proved them wrong. Example, we bought our first condo. They felt entitled and wanted keys so they could come and go as they pleased. I said no. They waited till we were at work and tried getting in using a locksmith. They claimed to be the owners and said their name is on the buzzer, and they hadn't had time to change their driver's license. The locksmith went to the manager's office because they often have spare keys. Because I had been in and out of the manager's office getting approvals for our renovations, they knew right away that they weren't the owners and called the police. Police showed up and were talking to the manager. We pulled up to see my in-laws standing next to the cop car along with another officer. They explained what happened, we reaffirmed that they had no rights to enter, they asked us if we wanted to press charges. Husband said no, but I begged the officer to scare the heck out of them, and he kindly did. This is not even the worst of it. So, their logic is to constantly take everything that they can take. We get overrun with debt while they keep progressing and achieving, thus proving to everyone that we were losers, and they projected it. Why do they try? Because they can and think eventually they're going to be successful. Update, 8 days later. We are maintaining no contact, no gifts or donations of $100,000, because what they ultimately want is a reaction or contact. We refuse to fight, and we refuse to submit, therefore we ignore. Our silence is a clear message that they do not hold any value in our lives, and that drives them absolutely crazy. Google Voice has been set up, and everything else is being blocked on the landline if they do not leave a message or are not part of our contacts. Mother-in-law at this point has left a single message, but we have received at least 50 calls, last time I counted, from numbers that we do not know but suspect are mother-in-law's flying monkeys. I still do not understand why they are asking for $100,000 for dorm rent and food, because any way I look at it, the math does not add up. I spoke to my cousin, a lawyer not in my area, and gave her all the information and asked if anything could be done. She reached out to a retired colleague who used to practice and now teaches, and they basically said to continue to ignore because legally, not much can be done. Annoying, but it is what it is. Now onto the gossip. My dad and uncles are part of the church board and have been for decades. They, the board, secretary, and clergy, get together every Monday and review the week ahead, deal with issues, and approve or reject anything that needs to be dealt with. Pretty standard stuff. The in-laws attend the church but are not really active in terms of committees, fundraising, and activities planning. Mother-in-law has volunteered once at a bake sale in the 40-plus years of living in the community and attending this church. The church has a huge banquet room that includes a stage, bar area, and fountain. It is used for church functions, plays, bazaars, dinner dances, parties, and can be rented out for a fee. Everyone pays some sort of fee. The fee has a complete breakdown of everything. There are 2 prices, one for stewards, members who pay a yearly membership to the church, and one for non-stewards, non-members, or anyone else who would like to rent the space. If you are a member, then you get the rentals at cost, so the church does not really make anything extra on the rental. If you are not a member, then there is an upcharge for using the space. Mother-in-law and sister-in-law want to rent the space because they are anticipating 200-plus people for the dorm shower. They filled in a request online that requires you to input your information, steward number, information about what the party is for, how many people, what vendors, if there will be liquor, and special requests. The board reviews it, and if they have questions, they make follow-up calls. The secretary had mother-in-law on speakerphone so that everyone could listen and ask questions if needed. They are not current stewards, last time they were stewards was when their kids were little, no judgment, just explaining. They used their steward number from decades ago and played stupid when the secretary said that they need to be current stewards in order to get the discount. They know this because they tried to pull the same thing for sister-in-law's big bridal shower. She had a total of 5, as well as the christenings of her children. The church has to pull a variety of permits depending on what type of party you are having, insurance, plus security, liquor permits, custodians, and a few other things I am sure I am forgetting. There is a pre-approved list of vendors that you need to choose from if you want to serve food or liquor, and they set their own prices separately from the church. If you want to rent the space, those are the rules and have been for over 30 years. If you follow the rules, then it is pretty seamless, and I have used them plenty of times throughout the years without any issues. Mother-in-law then tried to negotiate the price because they have volunteered so much throughout the years. Once, you volunteered once. Then she tried to say that they were going to bring in their own food and liquor. The church said you have to use the pre-approved vendors or you cannot serve food or beverages. Then mother-in-law pivots and wants to charge a fee to enter and have a cash bar, so she can use the space and, knowing her, upcharge to make a profit. The church explains that there would be additional paperwork and fees for that paperwork. Mother-in-law does not like that and says to just forget it. Under special requests, she wanted the choir to donate a performance, and at the end they wanted to do some sort of parade. My dad said that they were all just sitting there shaking their heads at the ridiculousness of mother-in-law. The fact that the party is supposed to happen, supposedly, the first week of August, with the address on the original invite being sister-in-law's house address. So 200-plus people are going to go into a residential neighborhood with limited parking for a dorm shower. I am sure it will be as classy as they are. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, send them a list of all the money they owe you for your kids as family. Birthdays, sick days, first pubic hair, and every party they did not bother attending, let alone pay for like a good family should. Make sure it is such a stupid amount they never ever want to speak to you again. OP, my oldest kid's first birthday, they forgot. On their second birthday, they forgot again and decided to go on a cruise. They are retired and have never gone on vacation during that time because it is a huge cultural holiday for them. Their ridiculousness and entitlement is something that was a constant source of conflict in my marriage. They seem to forget that my husband even has children. Commenter 2, very doubtful anywhere near that number of people will show up. People, most people anyway, will be hugely turned off by the obvious money grab. It is glaringly pathetic. I have to ask, you do not have to answer, but is this in the United States or is this some cultural expectation where everyone pitches in to support family? It is so mind-blowing, I am just really curious. How does the kid feel about all this? I would be humiliated if my family did this to me. Is she just going along with it? Cannot wait for the update after the party if you find out what happened. OP, definitely in the United States. Everyone immigrated here starting in the mid-1900s, but they held on to their culture tightly. My husband and I share the same faith, but we are from different cultures, speak different languages with similarities in food, cultural expectations, and traditions. The last time I saw The Graduate was 9 years ago, and she was a horribly entitled child. She was something, and I had to watch her closely because she would actively try to hurt my kids, like flipping them off a hammock onto the concrete, pushing them down the stairs, and pushing them underwater in a kid pool. Is it possible that she has changed? Sure. Is it probable? I do not think so. Commenter 3, are there other grandkids, besides yours which clearly do not count, that they have tried to pull this on, or is this one a special flower? OP, at the time of no contact, there were a total of 4. 2 are sister-in-laws, and the other 2 mine. I know there are more. I'm guessing a total of 12, maybe 13, and I do not know the dynamics. We have gotten other requests in the mail, but we ignored those as well, some being shredded without even being opened. Up on the family values from her in-laws. OP, they are just, I do not know. When sister-in-law had her second kid, we drove over 4 hours through winter weather and construction to bring them gifts for the new baby. They insisted, and we felt obligated because it was for the baby. I would have preferred to wait until spring or summer. They accepted the gifts, pastries, flowers, and then acted like we were intruding. I literally had the kids get undressed, use the bathroom, say hi to the baby from afar, get redressed, and leave. We stayed for 45 minutes, and I am being generous. Like why? They value the gift, not the family. Commenter 4, what is the niece's part in all this? Willing participant or embarrassed? OP, I do not know her now as a young adult, but she was a very entitled, horrible child. If I had to guess, willing participant. Commenter 5, sounds like mother-in-law is throwing a dorm shower scam circus and expecting everyone else to foot the bill. OP, that has been her modus operandi for years. Sister-in-law's mother-in-law, so sister-in-law husband's mom, got burned by mother-in-law at the big bridal shower and ended up covering over half the cost of 400 plus guests when she only had under 20 guests. Mother-in-law tried pulling the same thing at the baby shower, and sister-in-law's mother-in-law did not invite anyone and did not show because she was sick. She did buy a ton off the baby registry that sister-in-law's husband brought to the shower. She just did not want to deal with my mother-in-law. Op and her husband do not need to contribute to the niece's dorm shower. OP, my husband received an actual picture of The Graduate and a link to some fun fund, and then a separate invitation to the dorm shower. With them it is an and, not or. We are going to contribute to them what they contributed to us, nothing.